morning, everybody. Welcome back. We are live January 15th, 2016. This is Mike Phillip filling in once again for Dr. Peter Glidden. We've got Mike in Ottawa. And Mike, I got to tell you, I'm really excited about today's show because we have a great guest, Dr. Joel Wallach, the man, the myth, the legend. Dr. Wallach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate Dr. Glidden's hospitality, too, and we'll make something happen.
Sounds real good to me. Let's get right into it. Dr. Wallach, you've been doing this for a long time, tirelessly advocating health and coming up with ways for people to get their health back without drugs and surgery. And I am a end user of your product, okay, the things that you developed through the Longevity Company. And I got to tell you, the work that you started, 40, 50 years ago has changed my life drastically and the life of my family. About 6 years ago, I was in failing health. My wife was in failing health. Several members of my family were going down. And I went tooling around on the internet, and I found the Dr. Glidden show, and the rest is history. I used to wake up in the morning. My lungs felt like a broken rubber band. They were white hot every time I inhaled and exhaled. I started listening to Dr. Glidden. We started putting into practice his recommendations based on the products that you developed. And, man, I tell you what, we have been rebuilt. And so I have to thank you for that so much. Dr. Wallach.
Yes, sir.
I have been meaning to ask you for quite some time now, and I feel that this is the appropriate time.
Okay.
I want to talk about the effectiveness of your products and the development of them, specifically two of them, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the Osteo FX. Now, as I said, a long time ago, or about 5-6 years ago, we got on board with using the things that you developed. But before that, we had a bunch of different supplements that we were using, but the effectiveness was just about non-existent. I mean, we got a little bit of benefit from them, but things really skyrocketed when we took a chance and bought a can of Tangy Tangerine. Could you please talk about what led to the development of that specific product and why it's so effective?
Sure. Thank you so much. And you're very kind for the wonderful comments. Well, what makes my view different, first of all, is that I have a degree in agriculture. My major is in animal husbandry and nutrition. My minor was in field crops and stalls. And I learned how to develop rations for animals to prevent disease, to prevent bird defects, because we don't have health insurance for them. When a farmer buys a cow to have calves, she can give him 12 calves if she lives for 13, 14 years. So he doesn't want her to die at age 5 and only get 4 calves out of the deal because he's paid the same money whether he gets 5 calves or 12 calves. Of course, 12 calves would be much more profitable. And then, secondly, I got a degree in veterinary medicine and learned how to deal with over 400 different species of animals and also human beings on the side of that. Became a comparative pathologist where I learned how to do pathology, autopsies, looking at biopsies on both animals and people, big federal projects. That resulted in, over time, some 30,000 autopsies and 10 million chemistries, 75 scientific papers, one book, The Disease of Exotic Animals, which is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Very proud of that. That represented 20,000 autopsies right there. And then I also went back to school and became a naturopathic physician, licensed in Oregon and California since 1982. And what I learned was that the medical system doesn't know anything about nutrition. And of course, all vertebrates, whether you're a rat or a human being or a turtle or a fish or a hummingbird or an elephant, requires 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. There's no products in the market that gave all of that. Even if you combined them, it just wasn't some of the really strange minerals and things that are necessary for health and longevity. And so I began to locate these things and put them all together. And we started out with 2 products. It's called Ultimate Classic. It was a major liquid mineral, a vitamin, amino acid multiple, if you will. and had 88 of the 90 essential nutrients in it. And, of course, we had to add the EFAs for the other two, the essential fatty acids. And in the beginning, that was our repertoire. That was our thing, all 90 essential nutrients with two products. And that worked extremely well. But what I learned was when people had specific diseases, they needed a little bit of bigger hammer. So I began to build what we called the secret sauces for each of 900 different diseases. And that was too cumbersome. And so some of these secret sauces will be used to deal with, say, 40, 50 different diseases. And that's our principal function now, is to get everybody, before they get sick, on the 90 essential nutrients. It's kind of like putting oil in your car before the engine burns up. Nobody waits until the engine burns up to put oil in their car. But yet people wait until they get sick, and then they go to a medical doctor for crisis management. And, of course, in many cases, it doesn't turn out well. They get infections. They get the wrong surgery. They get stuff left inside them following surgery because doctors don't count how many sponges and instruments they used, and so they leave things inside of people. People die from thrombotic stroke or coronary thrombosis during or immediately after surgeries because doctors don't provide the nutrition to maximize the body's ability to maintain and repair itself and to survive and heal itself. Well, this is what our program with Youngevity has done, and we're very, very proud of this. We've been doing it in the fashion we have commercially since 1978, and I've been doing it personally since 1949. And so been doing it a long time personally and brought it to the general public in 1978.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that doctors don't have a whole lot of training in nutrition, but, at the same time, it's like people are scared of nutrients. They're scared of vitamins. They're scared of minerals. There's this, this hoax thinking that it's dangerous to take too many nutrients, which is the exact opposite. I mean, I pulled up a story. 1,500 people went to the emergency room last year because they were staring at their phone and walked into traffic. And at the same time, they've got this weird mindset where they're afraid of vitamins.
Yeah, well, that was done by the medical doctors. They're very, very good at protecting what they do, crisis management and pharmaceuticals. And so what they've done is take over the job of the church. You go back 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, but just slightly more than 100 years ago, 1914, when doctors became a protected monopoly, self-policing, no oversight by any agencies. And each year in America, according to the Center for Disease Control, it came out in 1998, and it's a yearly figure. Medical doctors kill, injure, and infect 15 million of their patients in the workplace every year, and nobody raises an eyebrow. They infect 2 million in hospitals alone with a single bug, Clostridium difficile, which is a human poop bacteria, and doctors don't wash their hands after they go potty, is what the Center for Disease Control tracked it to. Out of those 2 million infections each year from Clostridium difficile, 90,000 die. This is a yearly figure. And again, doctors don't even get an OSHA ticket. What would happen if a fast food restaurant were to infect 2 million people each year in their facility and kill 90,000? They wouldn't be open one day.
Well, not just 2 million, but like even one or two, it would be all over the news.
Oh, yeah, it's hysteria. Yep. And, of course, doctors have taken over the role of the church. Prior to 1914, the people who came to houses and took care of people were the women's sisterhood in churches and nuns in the Catholic Church, and they would take care of people, and they wouldn't charge anything for it. But it came from donations, the cost of what herbs they were going to use or chicken soup or whatever it is they were doing. And it was very low-key, low mortality. It didn't kill a lot of people. And this is what churches did. When doctors became a protected monopoly, and the Rockefellers and the Carnegies turned them into a protected monopoly by coming up with the AMA, the American Medical Association, we ran into problems. Of course, this is our problem, is they have no oversight. A doctor can practice for 40 years. Unless the patient complains, there's nobody looking at his records every quarter or every year to see if he's done his diagnoses correctly, prescribing correctly, billing correctly. And then, of course, the family just burns all his records as soon as he dies. And it's really criminal what goes on, absolutely criminal. And so our goal here is to teach people how to do all their own laboratory work. They can do a physical, which a doctor would charge people $2,000 for an office physical. They can get the same test strips the doctor will use from a pharmacy without a prescription, and the individual can do the same exact physical the doctor does: blood pressure, pulse, weight, blood test, urine test, colonoscopic exam equivalents, for a total of $4.50. And this is the purpose of the books and the lectures that Dr. Glidden and myself have been doing. And it's just such a pleasure to have Dr. Glidden working with me, because it helps me leverage my time and brings another heart who is wanting to help people into the brink, if you will. And so there's two warriors out there fighting, and not just one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and you're all over the place lately. Just, a few months back, I had a family member phone me up, and, hey, Dr. Wallach was on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, and since then you've been on several times. Ben Fuchs has been on. Dr. Glidden's been on. So, I mean, it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. They're diagnosing people ad hoc with whatever they can put a name on, whether it's lupus or whatever, and off-label prescriptions, giving people chemotherapy drugs for what they deem an autoimmune disorder, while at the same time as this great ignorance is killing a lot of people, the information that you're putting out that actually works and is science-based and verified is growing at the same time. So we see two opposing forces converging.
You're exactly right. We're having a great impact at this point. The Affordable Health Care Act is driving people to us.
Oh, Dr. Wallach, I hear the music. We got to go to a break, but I want to talk to you about the Affordable Care Act absolutely after this. Mike Phillip and Mike in Ottawa, filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden with Dr. Joel Wallach. We'll be back after this.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
My name is Don Wiskin. In 1994, I lost my 62-year-old father to complications of bypass surgery. In 1977, my 44-year-old brother was found dead in his apartment. He suffered a heart attack. In January of 98, my mother had a stroke and passed away in her bed. 21 days later, my 53-year-old brother passed away on his arrival to the hospital. He waited too long. In June that same year, I almost joined them at 42. What did I do? I took a 7-herb formula I now call Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, hawthorn, milk thistle, and valerian. Based on German studies of natural medicine, Extendivite is designed to clear blocked arteries, clean the toxins from your blood, and improve your immune system. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website, heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
You're fired. According to the Small Business Administration, 75% of small businesses plan to eliminate jobs or reduce workers' hours to part-time. You're fired. According to Gallup, the unemployment rate recently jumped to nearly 9%, and the underemployment rate hit a staggering 17.9%. You're fired. 1 out of 3 young adults and 1 out of 2 recent college graduates are underemployed. Hello, I'm Keith Abel, a pharmacist and a home business entrepreneur. In 2011, I became one of those statistics myself. Instead of looking for another job in corporate America, I joined Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. We're creating steady incomes for ourselves and would like to show you how to do the same. If you want to supplement your current income, replace your income, so you don't have to become one of the statistics, then give me a call toll-free at 866-257-3105, 866-257-3105. You're fired. Don't wait till you hear those words. Start creating an extra income today. 866-257-3105.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Nussbaum with the Anthem Foundation. Premature birth is the leading cause of death of babies and disabilities for children. That's why we support the March of Dimes to help mothers have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. Join us in supporting cutting-edge research, treatment and outreach to help moms during their pregnancy and give every baby a healthy start in life. Learn how you can help at marchofdimes.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dr. Glidden Show. This is Mike Phillip, Western Canada, and Mike in Ottawa. And we've got Dr. Joel Wallach. And like I said earlier, you're all over the place. You're even being mentioned during the commercials here, Dr. Wallach. So you mentioned the Affordable Care Act before the break there, and we've just got a short segment, but I live in Canada, and I'm very familiar with socialized health care. And, you know, healthcare, government, military, all of these things could be a very good thing or they could be a very bad thing. It just depends on who's in the driver's seat. Now, at the same time as I live in Canada, my dad lives in New Mexico, and he is involved with the VA, and I hear all kinds of things. So once you get government involved in the administration of medicine, look out. So what are you seeing since the Affordable Care Act has been passed in the United States?
Well, of course, our acquisition of new individuals using our program has just gone through the roof because people lose their insurance. Their deductible goes up from $300 to $3,000. Their premiums go up from $300 a month for a family of 5 to $2,000. And so people have just given up on the insurance thing and are fleeing to other options, where before, as long as the company paid their premiums, they didn't care. Well, now the companies aren't paying the premiums, or as you said earlier, they're dropping them down from full-time to less than 29 hours into part-time, and they lose their insurance as a result. Well, it's actually a benefit to the patient because, again, as you pointed out earlier, we actually have developed programs based on veterinary research. And people say, well, you're saying some outrageous things, Wallach, that you can make a person an ex-diabetic in 2 months. Yeah, if they're a type 2 diabetic, we've known for 80 years it's a simple deficiency of a single mineral. And so we've been able to come up with a program that will support and promote healthy blood sugars, support and promote healthy metabolism of sugars and carbohydrates to the cellular level. And usually within a couple of days, their blood sugar begins to drop. Within a couple of weeks to 6 to 8 weeks at the longest, most people are weaned off their medication, be it injectable insulin. If they're if they're type 2 diabetic. Type 1 diabetics, they can actually reduce their medication considerably. But type 2, they can eliminate their medications completely, whether it's injectable insulin or a pill or a tablet. And people say this is outrageous. Is there any research to back up what you're saying? Well, there's over $1 billion worth of research. That's not the problem. The problem is the medical system knows nothing about nutrition. They're not interested in nutrition. And so the patient has to take over that piece themselves. And this is what Dr. Glidden and I do, is we educate people how to be responsible and take over these things themselves. Well, here's a very interesting statistic that shows that medical doctors are significantly impacted by the Affordable Health Care Act. This was just published yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. they said over last year, the rate of suicide amongst general practitioners has gone up by 15% over last year. I guess it's last year over the year before that. Okay? Went up 15%. For male general practitioners in America, their suicide rate is 140. I think that's a month, 140 per month. And this is 140. For women general practitioners, it's 220. And so the impact on the medical doctors is very high because they're losing patients, because patients don't want to refi their house to get a double knee replacement or a double hip replacement. People don't want to pay $2,000 out of their own pocket for a physical or go in for some therapy, for instance, for lupus, which is really just a simple disease. You can get rid of lupus in 90 days. If you have an extreme case, it might take 6 months, but yeah, I'd say the average is about 90 days. Get on a gluten-free diet, you take the 90 essential nutrients, your body wants to heal itself, and lupus is not an autoimmune disease. It's actually a secondary result of gluten intolerance because you can't absorb these nutrients, so you get people on a gluten-free diet, and you get them on the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, and miracles happen. It's amazing how quickly people get rid of lupus when they get on a gluten-free diet and get on the 90 essential nutrients. And so we've been doing this, like I said, Mike, for 38 years commercially. And the reason people continue with the program is, as you point out, it works. And we're very, very proud of this. And we get an enormous amount of feedback from the individuals. And right now, 10,000 people a month, 10,000 new people a month are coming to Youngevity because they're giving up on the medical system.
Awesome. I've got a few things to say about that. And my co-host Mike hasn't said a peep this whole time. We've got a hard break. We'll be back after this with Dr. Joel Wallach, Mike in Ottawa, and yours truly, Mike Phillip. Very thankful to be here with Dr. Wallach today. We'll be back after this. Dr. Wallach, before the break, we were talking about a lot of things, but my co-host Mike has been suspiciously silent this whole time. He's got some questions for you as well. Let's give it over to Mike. What do you got to say to Dr. Wallach, my friend?
Good morning, Dr. Wallach. It's great to talk to you.
Okay, great to talk to you, Mike. I spend a lot of time up in Canada, so I appreciate the Canadian accent.
The Canadian accent, yeah, I've developed it over time, I guess. So, in my 10 years, I guess, 10 years in the medical field / alternative health field, I've kind of gotten to know how each side feels about me and how, the alternative health field reacts to what I say and how the medical doctors react to what I say. I'm wondering, from your point of view, how do you feel that each side thinks of you, and how do you feel about how they feel about you? I.e., I kind of get an ego boost whenever I annoy medical doctors, okay, or whenever I get to prove them wrong. How do you feel about things like that, and how do you think each side views you?
Well,
I know it's kind of personal. Sorry, but I'm just
no.
curious.
That's fine. That's fine. It's a very good question. Of course, there's two things that happens when you're talking about the medical system. The ones who actually do not appreciate the body's needs for nutrients, they tend to be offended, and personally, they take it personally. Although I usually talk about the medical system, unless they've been in the newspapers and obviously doing something wrong as an individual. But usually I talk about the system, the medical system, where they have failed the public all over the world, in the industrialized world, because they don't pay any attention to the body's basic needs for nutrients. And the reaction I get from them is they won't let me appear and speak at medical meetings where they have maybe 100 speakers for 5 days, and they won't let me have a booth there because my beliefs don't fit their beliefs, and so they're not willing to let me have a booth at their exhibit hall and won't let me lecture. On the extreme end of that sort of wanting to fend me off, I've had medical doctors. This was in Missoula, Montana, about 2 years ago. A medical doctor called up and he told the operator, look, put me on the phone with Wallach. And he thought he was being put on the phone with me, but instead he was put on live on the air with me at the AM station in Missoula, Montana. And he said, Wallach, I'm the anesthesiologist. I'm Dr. So-and-so. He named himself, and he says, I'm the anesthesiologist for the surgical group, blah, blah, blah. and I want to warn you. I said, okay. He said, and remember, this is on the air going out all over western Montana. Hundreds of thousands of listeners, plus the team that I had with me, plus the crew of the radio. And he said, if you come into our emergency room facility unconscious, you won't leave alive.
Wow.
I'm saying, okay, I just want to get this correct. You're saying that you're going to murder me, you're going to kill me, and not let me leave there alive if I come in there helpless and unconscious. And you could hear him take a deep breath like he was going to say, yes, hell yes. But then there was this little squeaky voice in the background, Doctor, you're live on the air. And he hangs up. But we have the recorded show, right? Plus hundreds of thousands of witnesses. And so that's the two extremes for the medical profession. When it comes to the alternative doctors, many of them are curious. Why do I see 5 million patients a day in 50 different countries? And they're happy if they see 10 a day. Okay. And this is because the usual alternative doctor, whether they're a chiropractor or a naturopathic physician or an herbalist or an acupuncturist, those that do Chinese traditional medicine and so forth, these sorts of specialties, they usually funnel into one thing. They'll do homeopathy only. Well, how many vitamins and minerals are there in homeopathy? Well, none. It's a good treatment source, but you still need your 90 essential nutrients. And then how many vitamins and minerals do you get from a chiropractic adjustment? None. You still need your 90 essential nutrients. Even though you get pain relief and you can get things realigned and increased range of motion and this kind of stuff. So there's benefit to all of these things. There's benefit to homeopathy. There's benefit to the chiropractic. Same way with Chinese traditional medicine and acupuncture. You can relieve symptoms with acupuncture, pain, inflammation, and swelling. You can slow heartbeats and reduce blood pressure. But as soon as the treatment's over, things return to what they were a couple of weeks later, and you got to go back in for further treatments. The disease, if it's based in nutritional deficiencies, will gradually get worse and worse and worse and eventually kill you. And so we like people to, whether they're in an alternative specialty or a medical doctor, every patient, every person, whether they're a patient or not, before they're conceived, all through the pregnancy they're developed in, from the moment they're born, should be on 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. That's because our genes, our DNA, and our RNA and telomeres require these things. Doctors have the misguided belief, Mike, that genes are autonomous and they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of the environment. Well, this is epigenetics. No, that's not true. Epigenetics says quite correctly that your genes, DNA, RNA, and telomeres require all 90 essential nutrients and other outside factors to optimally perform. If you want to maximize your genetic potential for health and longevity and speed and strength and intelligence and making good decisions and all that kind of stuff, which we usually attribute to genetics, you need to give your genes, DNA, RNA, and telomeres every nutrient in optimal amounts. If you're underdosed on some of them, some of them are totally missing, you're going to get terrible diseases, many of which are fatal. And so this is a piece that the medical system has left out because they believe 100% in genes more than they believe in God. And that has been the failing of the medical system. They believe in genes more than they believe in God. And as a result, they have killed more people. The medical systems in the industrialized world has killed more people than the Nazis did during the Second World War. And so it's really, really, it's more than sad. It's absolutely criminal. And I think all these suicides amongst doctors are happening because suddenly now they have, because there's so much extra paperwork, they hire a part-time bookkeeper, maybe a full-time bookkeeper, who sees that they're billing fraudulently for things that people don't have. They're billing fraudulently for cancer and giving them chemotherapy when they didn't have cancer. And so they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, or they don't want to get their hand caught in the cookie jar, but they know it's eventually going to happen, and so they jump off of this 20-story roof. I personally know a medical doctor who did that from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dr. Jerry Wallach. I had been on his radio show for many, many years, and he and I would joust over diseases like things like lupus and type 2 diabetes and arthritis, and he believes you could not regrow cartilage when, in fact, you can regrow cartilage. Just give the body what it needs, and your body will rebuild the cartilage given the right raw materials. Well, I read in the newspaper that he jumped off a 20-story roof, committed suicide, because he was fined $105,000 for inappropriate billing to Medicare. And there were 200 patients lined up to sue him for multiples of millions of dollars because they were given chemotherapy and other treatments which they really didn't need. And of course, he charged them. He charged Medicaid, Medicare. He charged their insurance companies and so forth, and got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And he committed suicide, jumped off the roof. And so these are the sort of things that's happening in the medical profession because the Affordable Health Care Act came along, and they wanted it. They thought this was going to drive more patients to them. What they didn't appreciate was it was going to drive more paperwork, thus the need for more people, more eyes looking at their practices, which is what has wound up being their nemesis.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, but also, do you think that maybe they're victims of their own brainwashing as well? I mean, they're, for, say, a mental disorder or depression, suicidal tendencies, they'll prescribe people with a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which actually is on the label. It'll tell you that it'll cause suicide and depression. And so, I mean, if this is all that they know to tell people to do, they're probably doing it themselves and destroying their own health and brain in the process.
Well, no, you're exactly right. And of course, what I really hold them responsible for, there's not been one single medical doctor stand up and say, this isn't working out too well. And I've seen all my buddies at the golf club or the country club, whatever it is, actually commit suicide, dying of heart attacks, and they're in their 50s and 40s and 30s. And I'm really not happy with this, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to stay on doing what the standard practice is because that's how I make my living. And if I die at 65, my wife has a $10 million life insurance policy. It'll be good for her. But I'm not going to change what I'm doing because they will take my license away if I do something else. I haven't seen a medical doctor stand on the courthouse step and burn at least a facsimile of his license and degree and saying I was taught wrong. I was given sufficient information to do the best I can for a doctor or for a patient. There's never, Mike, any law or anything in ethics. There's no ethical canon. There's no law requiring a doctor to cure you when there's a cure available. And somebody needs to be held responsible for this, and certainly it's the medical doctors. And as they find out that they've been going all the wrong direction, they've killed people unnecessarily, and they've been given misinformation as well as lack of information. This is when they jump off the roofs, and as you say, many of them are depressed. In fact, I'll tell you, I had dinner in New York City just a couple of days ago with a veterinarian who had been in the military for many years before they started a private practice 10 years ago in New York. And they had been suffering from PTSD in the military for over 30 years. And we just got them on the 90 essential nutrients, which included a mineral called lithium. And the disease you get when you're not getting sufficient amounts of lithium is depression and manic depression, bipolar disease. And bipolar disease in civilian clothing is called PTSD in military garb, same disease. And so this individual veterinarian took our program. In 3 weeks' time, it went back to being perfectly normal after 30 years of suffering from PTSD. So I'm here to tell you that these things, the nutritional approach works. And I'm urging every medical doctor out there listening, everybody who's doing a alternative specialty and relying on one avenue of alternative therapy instead of the 90 essential nutrients and then their specialty. Every car needs 6 quarts of oil. Even a Lamborghini won't do very well without 6 quarts of oil. You can't put 6 quarts of dirt from Texas or Alberta, Canada, because it has oil in it, into the car instead of oil, and say, hey, there's bound to be some oil in there. It's dirt from Alberta, Canada, or from Texas, so there's bound to be some oil in there. I'll save a lot of money. And that car will burn up, even a Lamborghini. You have to put the oil in there with the appropriate grade and type as said by the maintenance book.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, that oil is staying in the dirt these days. The drilling has been practically shut down here in Alberta. We got Dr. Joel Wallach, one segment coming up after this break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, everybody. We're live on the Dr. Glidden Show with our very special guest, Dr. Joel Wallach. And, you brought up 2 specific diseases, lupus and diabetes. And just in my travels alone, I've seen people get off of metformin and insulin injections. We had a nurse come to a Dr. Glidden speaking event in Edmonton, Alberta, and she was in a wheelchair, had been diagnosed with lupus, and she was out of it in 6 months, completely recovered. At the same time, you are going to be a victim or a victor of your own beliefs and where you put your trust. I mean, I got a friend, a really good friend of mine, Scott, here in town. He went to an MD about 20 years ago, and the guy had maybe looked at him about 5 minutes and talked, and then he just said, by the way, you've got lupus. And he hadn't done any tests. He hadn't, but, you know, Scott walked out of there and he says, I never went back. And it's been 20 years and he hasn't had any problems. But here's the thing. If he had believed that guy, he would have been put on a bunch of drugs that would have caused more problems, compounded with mineral and vitamin deficiencies, and he would have gotten sick. So that diagnosis would have become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So your job, if you're out there listening right now, is to decide on who you're going to trust, what information you're going to take in for you and your family, and the stakes are high. So this man has been doing this for a long time. Dr. Wallach has been fighting for your health freedom before I was born. So, I mean, you know, we all have a responsibility to get on board and shoulder the burden as much as we can. Otherwise, it's not going to get any better. Mike, you had a question for Dr. Wallach. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, I was a paramedic before I went into naturopathic medicine and before I started looking at things from a realistic point of view. And when I was a paramedic and I found out that I wasn't curing any illness, i.e. I really wasn't helping anybody, I felt like utter crap. And I said, okay, I've got to do something about this. I would like your opinion about how medical doctors can go to sleep at night knowing that literally none of their patients would ever get healed or get better. Do you have any idea how they can sleep at night?
Well, that's because they believe in the system, and they believe there are no options. That's what they've been taught, and they buy into it, and they see all the other doctors and all the older doctors doing the same thing. And certainly, one of the responses I get when I ask medical doctors that question, how can you sleep at night doing what you're doing? And they say, well, I'm taught the very best there is, and what you're saying is true. We'd be using it in medicine. And I said, well, I've got $100 billion worth of research here, $100 billion with a B. He said, yeah, that's in animals. That's not been proven in humans. I said, don't you think it'd be worth somebody's time just to take some of my things I'm saying that you think are so outrageous and try them in some humans that aren't doing real well with a particular disease? Let's say you get 10 people who are really in trouble with diabetes or congestive heart failure, which is a deficiency of a single vitamin. And instead of putting them on a heart transplant list, or you can get them managed with drugs when they have congestive heart failure, but you're not going to fix them. And so why don't you try adding my program to it and see if their congestive heart failure goes away? Oh, we couldn't do that. Okay, well, then you're going to keep doing the same thing you're doing, and people will continue to die. And so this is where we sort of have a parting of the ways. But I do, every once in a while, a doctor will come to the events. I've had their wives run up to the stage and pull my hair. And so I've had to have some of the girls from the audience pull them off of me, because if I'd hit a woman on the stage or something like that, that would be the only thing they would talk about, right? And so
I mean, Mike, your question assumes that they have a conscience. I mean, and here's the other thing that we've seen with prescribing people with chemotherapy, they get a direct monetary kickback. So we've actually got doctors out there diagnosing people with cancer when they don't have any, just to get that kickback. So, I mean, assuming that they have a conscience or it hasn't been burned out of them, I mean, they go to sleep on a big pile of money and they sleep well until they either die or commit suicide. I hear the music, and that means we're at the end of the show. Dr. Wallach, thank you so much for being a part of this show. It's a great interview, and we'll be following your progress in the future. And onward we march, Longevity Nation. Mike and Mike filling in for Dr. Peter Glidden. Everybody have a great weekend.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Attention hardworking Americans over the age of 50. If you have basic computer skills, then you may qualify to earn a second income working from home. Income potential is up to $18 per hour. If you have customer service experience or other marketable skills, your income could be higher. The good news is, you will not be alone in this new career because you'll be joining 53 million Americans working from home in this growing industry, and growing it is. If you have basic computer skills and would like to earn a second income from home, a new free report can give you all the information you need to get started. Again, the report is free, and you can receive it in minutes. All you have to do is visit realcashsecrets.com. That's realcashsecrets.com. To receive your free report, just visit realcashsecrets.com. But hurry, because this free offer could be discontinued. So go to realcashsecrets.com. That's realcashsecrets.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, veterinarian and naturopathic physician. The Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy with an important message. Take charge of your health. Do not continue to blindly follow the system that has failed us all. I appreciate GCN listeners because you're open-minded and intelligent. If our system is so great, why is it that the United States, the USA, ranks nearly 60th worldwide in longevity and number 1 in obesity? All the while we spend more money than all the other countries combined annually on unnecessary healthcare procedures and toxic drugs. It doesn't take much to get on track. Not with the government or pharmaceutical companies, but rather you in control of your own health with a basic understanding of nutrition and supplementation. FDI Longevity has the finest quality health, sports, and energy supplements available. GCN listeners are invited to join our team of people who want to stay healthy well into old age. We are currently looking for specialists to represent FDI Longevity and save America. To buy products at wholesale prices or join our business team, go to gcnteam.com. That's gcnteam.com. Support GCN. Get healthy.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MyTV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MyTV. 1-855-905-MyTV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MyTV. 1-855-905-MyTV.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
My dad was 59 when he collapsed from a heart attack late last year. Just this past August was when we spread his ashes on the St. Croix River. I loved my dad, but boy was he stubborn. He hadn't been to the doctor in over 25 years. His excuse? He simply couldn't afford it. He wasn't a rich man by any means. At less than $107 per month, LibertyOnCall.org would have been the perfect alternative for my father. Don't wait. Go to LibertyOnCall.org right now, for not just your sake, but for the sake of your loved ones. Again, that's LibertyOnCall.org.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, this is Walt Augustinowicz. I'm the founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. By now you've heard our commercials about wallets that protect you from electronic pickpocketing. 10 years ago, I created a way to protect my own cards from prying eyes after government officials started talking about issuing a national ID card with a built-in radio chip called RFID. I felt having to broadcast my personal information was an invasion of privacy. Soon after, it was also announced that credit cards, debit cards, U.S. passports, hotel room keys, and even transit passes would all soon incorporate RFID. It was then I formed ID Stronghold to share my inventions in blocking RFID signals with the world. There are a lot of misconceptions out there today about RFID. I encourage everyone to get informed and get protected. Please go to idstronghold.com and get the facts and the wallets, sleeves, or badge holders you need to protect your personal financial data. You'll be pleasantly surprised that through our direct sales model, you won't pay more than other comparable unprotected wallets. It is as though the protection is free. Visit idstronghold.com today.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Winter has just begun, and are you already tired of being cold? How would you like to never be cold again? This is Dale with Fortress Clothing, and I'm here to tell you, you will never be cold again with Fortress. If you're tired of freezing your butt off, elk hunting, sitting in a tree stand, deer hunting, winter camping, fishing, ice fishing, no longer fear the cold. If you snowmobile, ski, snowboard, get Fortress. Sledding with the kids, shoveling the walks, shopping, or if you or your spouse get cold feet at home, get Fortress. If you're stuck outside working in the cold or find yourself in an emergency situation, get our winter bug out bag and you will never be cold again. Fortress is the answer, so quit complaining and go to fortressclothing.com. It's a mid-layer garment that goes with anything you want to wear. Enter coupon code RADIO and get 20% off any item. Go now while we still have inventory. fortressclothing.com.